So within a pattern, there are variations that you could come up with. So we have the regular backspin, we have the breakdown pattern, which is slowing the record down by manipulating the record, tapping the record, and letting a sound play. We have the offset backspin. After the offset backspin is the snare pattern in my 10-root movement concept of beat juggling. The snare pattern is a pattern that was created by Steve D. And with the snare pattern, anyone familiar with the snare pattern other than Ernest? Raise your hand. Dieter? All right. So
at least not the names of them.
I'll demonstrate it real quick. This is the snare pattern, guys. Familiar to you guys? Yeah? So that's the snare pattern. Now, do you see the difference in technicality and sound when you compare it to the breakdown pattern? Steve D, some people like to say that he's the inventor of beat juggling. I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way. Steve D was one of my idols. But I personally don't credit Steve D for inventing juggling because of what I explained to you guys leading up to this pattern. You can't do the snare pattern if you don't do what?
Backspinning.
If you don't backspin, exactly.
Right.
So I think it's incorrect to say Steve D invented juggling because a part of juggling is backspinning. And Steve D did not invent the backspin. Flash did. And I'll go as far as to say you can't say Flash invented juggling either. So if Flash were here, he'd probably want to fight me for saying that. You know, a lot of these guys, a lot of times, because there are these narratives that get attached to them, then they become so glued to this, you know, folklore about them that if you change it, they get mad. You know what I'm saying? But I'm about truth and speaking in ways that just make sense, right? So what I like to say is it was a group of DJs that helped this art or this style of DJing evolve to what it is. So you don't have juggling without Flash, obviously. But you also don't have breakdown patterns without Lightning Rich doing it with words. So some people might say, oh, Aladdin created the breakdown pattern. I think that's incorrect to say because Lightning Rich was breaking down words. Might not have been with drums, but you still got to credit Lightning Rich. What I will say for the breakdown pattern, what I will say about Steve, though, is that Steve is the DJ that created an approach to these movements that revolved around patterns, hand choreography that you could apply to any song.
Yep. 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 Yep.
That, to me, is where Steve definitely deserves the credit. So with the snare pattern, what I'm doing is I'm dropping on a 4. This symbol is a 4. Symbol 1, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you grab any 4 and start the pattern from there, you have the snare pattern. So let's just test it right now. Now I'm going to go to the next 4 of the song. 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1. Make sense? Yeah. All right, so that's the snare pattern.